I'm Nick Clements from YourQS, and welcome to Beyond the Guesstimate, our podcast where we talk about a concept of I call cost-informing design. I've been in the construction sector since 1993, and pretty much the whole time I've been frustrated about the inefficiencies through our industry and keen to talk to different people and explore different ideas around how we can improve it. For me, so what we're going to be talking about today is a bit around sales and marketing. So it's an area that I've been involved in a long time. I first got into sales, I was thinking about it in the car today when I was driving over. But very early on in my career, I became a sales engineer, and I can remember being given the keys and a customer list and my sales manager saying, off you go, sell stuff. And it was a pretty terrifying first few weeks. And my attitude towards salespeople was, they're all shiny shoes, trying to push stuff down your throat, and I really struggled with that, and I didn't see myself as that, but that was what I felt I was expected to go out and do. And I learned pretty early on that just didn't work for me. It wasn't my style. And fortunately, that sales manager changed, and we got a new one in who actually put me on some sales training, and I started developing and learning a lot of skills around the whole sales process. And now looking back on my career, which is, because my age, my grey hair is pretty long, I realised just how useful those sales skills that I learned early on have been right through the whole lot. So it's not just about me selling stuff, but in my business, we're selling a service, so we're always selling. Most of our customers, so whether they're, it's an architect working from home, they're selling something. Whether it's a builder running a team, they're selling something. Whether it's an accounts person getting the team to fill out their timesheets properly, you're selling something. And so I've found those skills absolutely vital, and it's been a big part of what I've been able to achieve in my career. So I thought what I'd do is bring in somebody that knows even more about selling and marketing than what I do. So Jon Randles. So welcome, Jon Randles. Jon's a business coach, and his background and specialisation is in marketing, but he works with a wide range of businesses, helping them, I guess, in a similar line of thinking to me, looking at their processes and looking at what they can do better. So welcome, Jon.
Yeah, thanks, Nick. No, good to be here. What you were saying about your sales career reminded me of my beginnings. So I was a 19-year-old kid, followed a girl to Wellington, needed a job, and found out about telemarketing. You could call businesses, and it was when Clear had just come to New Zealand. So telecom, we went through the deregulation. And like you, they said, here's a phone, here's people to call.
Sell stuff.
Sell them, yeah. And what I found, within a month, I became the top salesperson without knowing anything about selling, but I found out I could communicate. And I just, from then on, just worked out, if I communicate, people want to buy the things that I've got, because I've just told them how they work and that it sort of suits the problem that they have. So yeah, what you said resonated with me.
Yeah, and I guess, for me, I've always been a bit of a talker, and that was probably part of it. But more what I found was my key to success was understanding things from their position. So getting some sort of empathy with them and understanding, and basically my way of being successful in selling, and I did actually become pretty good at it, was sort of what can I do to help them solve their problems, and trying to understand their problems, and then figure out how I could fit whatever I had in my bag of things that I had to flog to them, figure out how they could actually solve their problem, and then explain to them how that worked. So that was sort of the methodology that I figured out. Yeah. So what was your journey to get into business coaching? So from telemarketing to business coaching was, I guess, there's something happened in between.
Yeah, sure. A lot happened in between. The long story short was I started a marketing company that went through its up and downs for 10 odd years. It was finally on its up. Things were going well. And then I put my head into the concrete, 25K an hour on a scooter. So Lime scooter crash. And what it did, it put me out of the business and made us realize we need better systems in place. We need teams stepping up. All this sort of stuff needed to happen. So by the time I came right and we worked out what we needed to put in the business to make it better, business didn't need me anymore. So I sort of stepped out of my role whilst the business continues to run. My business partner runs it. The team all sort of stepped up. And early on, we'd had a business coach involved in our business and transformed us. Like we were, not profitable, struggling, very stressful. Within 12 months, he made a massive change. And so when I stepped away from the business thinking, what am I going to do? he said, you should get into business coaching. It's right up your alley. Before I started the marketing company, I was a business banking manager at the National Bank. And before that, I ran a language school in Japan. I'm sort of trained on how to train people. So, yeah, I sort of married my skills, experience together. And it's the right path, yeah. So now I help business owners who might have just reached a stage where they're stuck or they can't grow or they're struggling or they're stressed, they're working too long, the business is overly reliant on them. And then I help them forge a path to get out of that space. And yeah, it's cool. It's very cool.
Yeah, I think that's fairly typical of most small businesses. And I know it's a journey that I've been on. I started 2017 and we launched it in the market 2018, and it was me and a couple of students to start with.
Yeah.
And over time, it was me. But you get to a point where you need to start letting things go, but also building the capability of the team around you, so you can get to the point where the business runs without you. And I guess to some degree, until you get to that point, you haven't really got a business, you've got a job.
That's my catchphrase. I help you build a business, not a job.
Yeah, right. Yeah. That's sort of part of my learnings, and it's something I've been very aware of in my business, and also trying to make it less dependent on me, not purely because of that, but also if something happens to me.
Like something happened to me.
Yeah, and I know we've shared concussion stories. So I had a bad bike accident a couple of years ago and had concussion. Fortunately, my experience wasn't, well, I think your advice helped a bit, actually. Just making sure I paid attention to the doctors and looked after myself.
Yep.
Did the rest and recovery. So I got out of it pretty well, but that really, just reinforces it. I've got 10, 12 people in my team. If something happens to me, we got a good business. We all enjoy working in it. I don't want it to end just because I can't be there anymore. So it's, I think it's beneficial from that perspective, as well as the business itself and the value of the business from being able to spread it across the team. So it wasn't what I was intending talking about today, but it's good stuff. So what I'm quite keen to look at is, most businesses, I see in that sort of sales marketing end of it, there's two challenges. So one is getting the leads in, and then the other one is when you get the leads in, converting them into deals. So I was thinking maybe we could do a little bit of a 101 marketing, 101 sales. So maybe just a little bit of high level cover over both of them, and I'll ask you a few questions and stuff as we go. So
sounds great.
So I guess what's a starting point with marketing? If an organisation is thinking, okay, I need to start getting out there, I need to start making people aware of me, I need to start trying to get people in the door. Or I guess maybe even before that, what's the difference between sales and marketing? It's a good starting point.
So marketing is essentially making sure people know who we are. And then the sales part is, okay, they know who we are. They need someone for our product or service, like they're looking for something. And the sales part is converting them, I guess. So even marketing, let's put it in a one-to-one sense, might be going to a networking meeting. That's essentially marketing. But then someone saying, okay, I've got this problem, can you solve it? And when we sit down and go through that process, that's more of the sales process. So marketing, we need to be known by the people who we want to buy our products or services. And sales, we want them to give us money for doing so. So that's as basic as we can kind of get.
So for I guess the businesses I typically work with are typically smaller. So we're not talking Winstone wallboards or telecom.
Yep.
So for a smaller business, what sort of tools are available to them from the marketing end of things? So what are sort of some viable options that somebody running their own business, a builder or an architect or whatever, what are some of the tools they could use for that marketing end of things?
Yeah, and I would say that a lot of small businesses, like marketing is probably their weak point. They didn't start their business to be a marketer. They started it because they had a skill in a particular area, suddenly got staff, need some work. So many small businesses, I say to them, where does your clients come from? And they'll say word of mouth. So they might go to a networking thing. They might, hopefully the neighbor tells someone, or they did some work on a street.
Or a customer tells another customer.
Or a customer tells another, ideally. So that's great. But that can run out. Yeah. And, I was talking to someone today saying, sales work or the inbound stuff that we deal with means that we get to eat today, but the outbound stuff means that we get to eat tomorrow. And it's so important that business owners are are devoting a chunk of their time to that outbound marketing, making sure they're in front of people. So what tools are available? Again, it could be as simple as, the local newsletter, depending on how local we are, making sure we're in front of these different households in that kind of way. Obviously, so funnily enough, things like media, like radio or even TV now, are a lot cheaper than I think that they used to be. You used to think of a telecom going to buy a TV spot. But yeah, it's about sort of just scratching the surface and seeing what's available. Social media is a big one. So people in professional services, LinkedIn is it's a big tool that if you use it well enough, I've seen businesses transform by just focusing on one particular channel. And that's what I would say is when you're a small business, you're just getting started in marketing, pick one channel and really devote time into that one, learn about it, get better at it, invest in it, rather than spreading yourself too thin. Otherwise, you're creating more noise than signal. So we want to be deep into something rather than shallow into lots of things. Yeah.
So,
and what have you found? What channels worked for you and what you're doing?
Yeah, so I think that probably the first line of thinking I went down was, where are my customers looking for things?
Yes.
So are they on Facebook? So like for us, but builders tend to be quite Facebook oriented with their marketing activities. So most builders will be pretty active on Facebook. And I think they're doing that because that's a good place for their customers, their potential customers they're looking for. So for us, haven't been a big social media person. I guess I've realised that I needed to get into it. So I've tried to up my game in the social media space. And so Facebook was one for the builders. We do quite a bit on LinkedIn, which I see as sort of more of the architects, the professional services tend to be LinkedIn. So I've sort of looked at where are my current customers looking, and that's sort of where I need to be. And so I think for if any business should think about, okay, who am I aiming at? What sort of things are they likely to be consuming, and how can I get into those?
100%. And there's this marketing guru that I follow, and he says, if your business is turning over less than $1 million a year, the first 4 hours of your day should be spent getting in front of your target market, wherever they are.
Yeah, right.
And that might be extreme, like, that's half our day doing that. Yeah. But the concept, like, it really makes sense. We need to be consistent, committed, and consistent again. Like that's the one that trumps. We've got to be in front of people. So when they're going, I need a whatever, our name becomes in the mix.
Yeah.
So then we get good at marketing, and then we need to learn how to convert those leads once they do sort of come in the door.
Yeah.
And a lot of small business owners struggle at that point as well. It becomes a bit of a spray in marketing, and then a spray in the sales. Like we'll send a quote out just in an email.
Yeah.
Don't follow it up. Haven't put a why. It's just here's what I'll do and here's the cost. So yeah, well, we can get into that bit as well.
It's I definitely get what you're saying. And I think it makes sense. And it's sort of coming back to sort of what I was saying about building away from ourselves, that to get that 4 hours a day, if you are on the tools in a building case, on the tools in QSing or on the drawing board, then you've got to be able to get that 4 hours a day. If you are, only way you're making a living is by billing that time, it's a real struggle. So that's why sort of building your team around you is actually an important part of the long-term success of the business, so that you can actually free up some time to be able to work on the business, which is, I'd classify this sort of thing as working on
100%.
The business.
Yeah. And it's such a mind shift to go from like the owner of the business into someone who's leading the business. It's a real shift. And a lot of people, they either haven't thought about how to do it, or they didn't even know that's what you do. They just thought if we keep working harder, somehow things will get better. But it becomes a bit of a shift. And that's where, I guess, people in my role, we hold the hand to make that step. rather than go, I don't know how to do that. Well, it's a proven path. Like lots of people have done it.
It's not
Just
like you're the first one.
Exactly. So yeah, it's just so important, because otherwise the business can only grow to the energy levels of the person sort of running the thing.
Or they're working late at night, they're working weekends.
Totally.
You may be able to do that for a period of time. And I think all of us have to do it when we're getting a business going, because you're basically sticking everything into it. But you can't do that forever. So you've got to get it to the point where it's the input from you is sustainable.
And a lot of people, and I would say 80% of businesses, they try to do it forever. And they just get to a plateau, and they live in the plateau for 5, 10, 20, 30 years. And we're getting to a point where all these baby boomers, if you like, are getting to retirement age thinking they're going to sell their business. And they realize, we don't have a business, we've got a job. And no one wants to buy your job, because especially there's so many others out there and around. So yeah, it's a big shift to go from I'm the business owner because I'm the boss who pays the people, but that's not really ownership, you know. And so yeah, it's a whole different way of thinking.
The business is owning you rather than you owning the business.
Yes, very much. Like a lot of business owners, they could be paid more and work less if they had a job.
So sort of come back to the marketing thing. So if you're talking about, the ideal target would be to, from your guru's suggestion, is that 4 hours a day, which I'm not uncomfortable with, to be honest. Probably don't achieve it, but actually, maybe this year I have. But So, and what about dollars? And I guess that's going to be a hard one to answer. But what sort of expectation should people be looking at spending it money wise?
So it comes down to ROI. So if a job's going to give me $20,000, then maybe it's worth spending $1,000 on some type of marketing, whatever we choose that we're going to do. Like, it's worth it, because a lot of people go, "Oh, that's expensive," because it's $1,000 Google Ads campaign or a $2,000 Facebook ad. But what comes out the back of it? My marketing company, I remember early on, we did a Facebook campaign for Hell Pizza, and I think we had a $2,000 budget, and it turned into over maybe $160,000 worth of pizza sales. So if anyone said, "Well, that's expensive," $2,000 is expensive. What's it coming back at? So it's an investment, not a cost. Marketing should be an investment, not a cost. And so part of that being an investment is we need to get schooled. We have to up our knowledge skills to understand it. Otherwise, it's a gamble. If you just give money to a marketing company without really knowing what they're going to do with it, it becomes gambling. So if we're going to be investing, we need to have a little bit of knowledge, find the right group of people, not see it as a cost. We've all heard that thing that in a downturn, people who reduce their marketing spend, when the upturn happens, they're behind. But people who keep their marketing spend during that downturn, they actually end up with a bigger slice of the pie as the things turn around.
Yeah, so I think you touched on before about it being tomorrow's sales, and you've got to be consistent.
Yes.
Yeah, you've got to be out there all the time. And so if you're, okay, this job's coming to an end, I need another one, I'll start doing some marketing. It's actually too late. You need to be doing it 1 or 2 jobs before, so that there's a bit of a pipeline of things ticking along. So that
when we've got a pipeline, we stop taking bad money. We stop taking bad customers.
Because then you take the first deal.
Take the first one. Oh, shit, I need some money. Let's work. This costs me money. It's not the right person. Whereas if we've got a bunch of customers coming through, we can start to pick and choose. And that's where that investment in marketing really pays off, because you've got enough people you can go, can't work with all of you. I'm just going to work with the good ones who pay me what I'm worth, who don't question it. They're the perfect ones. There's a thing I've seen on social media where it's got $500 client. It's going, I need you to come back and do this. You have made all these mistakes. I'm not interested in this. And what about this? And can you make sure that you do that? And it's got $5,000 client paid.
Yeah, yeah.
So the cheap ones, they're often the headache ones.
Yeah, so I can remember back into my sort of early marketing training, and there was a guy, Theodore Levitt, who was a American marketer in the early days of marketing. And I remember him, one of his sayings was that I know 50% of my marketing is wasted. I just don't know which 50%.
Yeah.
And the good thing in our age is when you're talking about Google, Facebook, those sort of things, they've all got analytics. And so if you don't have analytics set up, you're shooting yourself in the foot because you're back in the Theodore Levitt days. But with the modern technology, you can actually get a good feel for what's working, what's engaging with your clients, and what isn't. So it makes it much easier to know whether your money that you're spending is effective or not.
And where we're ending up, like, we're setting these business owners that we're sort of talking to that, you need to upskill yourself in marketing. You need to upskill yourself in sales. And they're sitting there going, I've got no time. I don't have time. And so one of the first things I'll often do with my clients is we actually work out time. Like we sit down and map out, where is time going? Where is the productivity happening? How can we get more done in the same amount of hours a day? Because all the business owners who are saying, I don't have time, it's the same amount of time as the ones who are kicking the goals. So like that's really, really important to work that out. And as you said, maybe in the beginning, you get up a little bit earlier. You might go home a little bit later. You might eat your lunch in front of some kind of lesson, or go to a lunch and learn or something like that. So we must sow the seeds to get the plants, the vegetables, whatever comes from the seeds. Yeah, the fruit sounds good.
Yeah. So we've got this marketing going. We're starting to get some leads coming in. Yeah, we touched on the idea of a pipeline. So the idea behind a pipeline is stuff comes in. You're going to get, hopefully the pipeline's narrowing down. So your marketing advertising is going to get quite a wide range of clients coming in. You then need some way of working out which are the ones that you actually want to work with. Ideally, if you can get your marketing really targeted, the ones coming in are all good. But
totally.
That's probably not the case. So they're coming in, starting to pop out the end of the pipeline. So we're now starting to talk about sales. So once you've got those leads coming in, what sort of processes, what sort of things should you have in place for that?
Yeah, so it's really, really key that in our first interaction with this potential customer, potential client, we can really identify, are they the right fit? In my business, I had a little spiel that in the first few minutes of the conversation, I'd say, our current clients spend between $3,000 and $7,000 a month. Does that sound like you? And they go, oh my God, I've only got $500 a month or $1,000 a month. And I say, oh, that's no problem. Let me introduce you to two friends who have businesses who can help you. And they'd go, oh, thank you so much. That's amazing. And I would cut that off in 3 minutes. Whereas I know of another person in the same situation who would take the call. Okay, you want some marketing? Yep, great. Who are you trying to do? Yep, cool. I've got some information. What I'll do, I'll put a proposal together and I'll present it to you next week. And so they would spend a week working on the proposal, go back, present it, and the person would go, $3,000, we've only got $500. So it's a complete waste of everybody's time. And so, working out very quickly, are you the right fit immediately? Do you fit into our sort of sweet spot of budget, of time, and all those kind of things? Once we've worked out, yes, you're a good fit, what is so key is, and we've talked about this before, there's a bit of a system, like a 4-phase system. The first one is getting permission to ask questions. And the reason we want to get their permission is nobody likes being controlled. And if I just start going, so Nick, how much is your budget? Okay, when you do this by? You just like stop battering me.
Yeah.
But if it's okay, Nick, so I can do the best thing for you, is it okay if you answer a couple of questions for me? Sure. So,
and actually the budget thing in our industry is quite an issue, and a slightly different reason to yours, but probably ultimately the same problem is, does the budget fit with what they're looking to try and do?
Yes.
And for whatever reason I know I've talked to architects and builders, they both struggle to get budget out of clients. They don't want to say what they want to spend, and it's not like. I believe the industry is basically honest. It's not like the industry as a whole is going to try and fit whatever it is they've got into your budget, or they're going to try and make it fit. It's that basically we can do whatever you want. We can spend you can spend 10 grand on your bathroom, or you can spend 100 grand. We need to know where you are. So got any techniques or tricks to getting that out of people?
One of my favorite things was in my industry, because it was well above typical, was like, if they're going, and I'm, how much is he? I'm not quite sure. And I'd say, does $10,000 a month scare you? And they go, oh my God, I was thinking more like 3 or 4. Okay, cool. Yep, we can work with that. So, in that kind of situation, does $200,000 for your bathroom
scare you?
Yeah, does that scare you?
Yeah.
Oh, yes. Bring it down. Like come to and there's all these sales techniques and things, but already you're kind of price anchoring them. With a big number. So if you said, well, look, we could do this for 20,000, that sounds way less than 200,000.
Yeah. But if you've got a budget of 60, you don't want to be starting at 20.
Exactly. So starting high, and where do you think? And at least getting a band. We need to get something out of them.
So the first thing's getting permission to start questioning them a bit.
Yes. Yep.
And I think you're absolutely right that the sales process is two-way. It's not just about me telling you. It's the more successful salespeople are the ones that listen, and so you want to get them talking, be listening, and then you start and respond to what they really need. So the first one is getting their permission to get the discussion going. What's the second step?
Then it's asking those questions, and it's asking the questions to find out where they're currently at and what is their ideal. And what would it look like if it all went wrong? Who would that impact? We're trying to understand not just what they think that they want, but sort of deeper, what do they actually want? They might say that they want a bathroom that does this, that, and this, but it's because they've got a daughter with some kind of
needs a wheelchair.
Totally.
Yeah.
And so making sure that it's a simple access, is everything's close by, all that stuff. So rather than a massive, beautiful bathroom that's too hard to get around, it might be small and compact because it does the job. So it's really, really, really key that we ask enough questions. Like the whole thing should be us questioning. The better the questions, the better the outcome's going to be. And they're going to feel listened to and heard, so that when we do present our offer, send our quote, do our proposal, we're actually answering exactly what it is that they want. And we've uncovered it through those kind of questions.
Yeah, that reminds me of another thing that I learned back in the marketing days was the old shotgun. So, the shotgun approach with marketing is you basically blast it out there and hope one of those pellets hits something, but it's a pretty inefficient way of doing it. And obviously at the sales end as well, is that if you go in with your standard sales patter and you try and cover everything in that patter, then one of them might hit, but you've 90% of it's turning them off.
Exactly. Here's all the things that we sell. Would you like one of them?
And the only way to not do that is understand exactly what they need. And the only way you're going to find that out is two things: asking questions and listening.
Yeah. And even, finding out what's most important to them. So people think it's price, but usually people are shopping on price, quality, or service. And the studies I read said that only 20% of people actually buy on price if those other areas are demonstrated. And so, we might say, is price important to you? Yeah, it is. Oh my God, so important.
Yeah, who's going to say it's not?
Exactly. Right. And what about quality? Oh yeah, okay, well I need quality, right. So what does bad quality look like to you? Oh, this, that, and this. Okay, what does good quality look like? Well, it needs to look like that. Okay, cool. So now we're starting to get their vision. And so that when we present this, we're again presenting back their vision. Same with service. How important is communication to you? Oh my God, it's so important. You really need it. Great. So what we're going to do is each week we're going to have a phone call at this time, so you know exactly where you are during the process. Oh, perfect. That's great. And so we start to reduce the power of price. And so when we present our proposal or quote, now it's not just a list of items and a number where we're going to be compared with other lists of items and a number.
And the lists might not be the same, and then might be very hard to actually tell.
So they just go, oh, shit, well, that's cheaper. We'll go with that. We're actually mirroring back exactly what they wanted. And here's the cost for the thing that exactly what you wanted. What would you pay for your dream? Is it $5,000 more than this guy's list? Of course, no problem. It's just I can't see that list, but you've brought the sort of the vision back to me.
That absolutely. It's sort of another thing I learned is that early on in my selling, I thought price was everything and you had to be price competitive. And now over the years, I've learned that if I'm told that I've lost a job on price, I know it's because I haven't done a good job selling them on what we do.
Yeah. And
it's an easy answer for them to give. And you can't argue, you weren't cheap enough. That guy was cheaper. I've gone with him.
So if we, in the discovery stage, we pull out that we are not the cheapest, is that okay with you? Oh, yeah. So then we're confronting them going, you said you weren't just priced because now they look cheap.
Yeah.
So we want to establish that in that sort of discovery phase. And then, it's the permission, the questions.
So the third one.
And then is presenting the offer. And, there's a couple of schools of thought here. One is, here's the one price because I'm the expert and here you go. Or here's, let's say, three options. The one, like a get started, probably the one that we want them to get, the middle one, and then all the bells and whistles. And what I've often talked to, people about is with the bells and whistles one, go mad, go nuts, go outside of what they see their budget was, just to say, look, if budget was no option, here's what we reckon you'd love. And again, they go, wow, that looks amazing. Probably can't afford it, but it looks so good. And we've price anchored them at this higher point. And then we're going to give them a really good offer in the middle, which meets everything that they want. It's at a good price for us. We feel happy with it if they bought it. They get everything they want. And with the cheaper one, this is where most businesses go wrong, I reckon. They make it cheap and razor-thin margins.
Yeah.
But we want to flip that and just pull out all the services. So it's probably our highest margin service, but at a cheaper price. So they're getting one thing instead of three things for that price. So we're getting well paid for the one thing. Because otherwise, and this is what happens all the time, business owners end up with a bunch of shitty clients that they don't want because they've all taken the bottom one. Yeah, totally. And they go, fuck, now we're even more handcuffed than before we started.
Yeah. I like that. I have to think about how we could build that into what
yeah. And now what we're doing, we're giving the feeling of control back to the customer. They're choosing what it is that they want without us sort of, them feeling, I'm being pushed into that one. Is that the good one? I don't know. So they've taken, and they take some responsibility now because they've chosen that one.
Yeah. Yeah. Like I say, there's definitely, I'm not so much thinking about our service because I'm not sure we can nuance it to quite the same degree, but I'm thinking, could we come up with something for our builders, say, that actually enables them to be able to do that? So, no promises, guys, but I'll have a think on that one. Yeah. So the next step after that.
So the close, people think this is the end of the game, and it's probably the beginning, actually. We're presented the options, and many times we're going to have things like objections. And so what's really important with an objection is, firstly, you agree with it and go, okay, we are more expensive than Terry down the road. And we write that down. Okay, price. Is there anything else? Well, we would want to start a week earlier than what you've got in your proposal. Oh, okay, cool. Week earlier. Is there anything else? So what we want to do, we want to get all of the objections out before we start to refute them, go against them, discuss them. Otherwise, it's playing whack-a-mole. So, we can match Terry's price, no problem. Well, I need you to start early. Oh, okay, well, we can start. And you're just running ahead, and you lost all that control. So we agree with the objection. Oh, yep, you're right. We are more expensive. Anything else? And we list them, and then we can walk through them one by one once we've got them all out of their system and almost recounting back to them. So we've got price here. Now, in the discovery phase, we talked that quality for you was better than price because Terry, he doesn't use whatever special glue we use. So remember your windows might fall out. Oh, shit, that's right. Okay, cool. So timing. So you want to start a week earlier. Look, things have changed and we can start a week earlier now. So no problem. And, if we get that right, are we good to go? Yeah, okay. So, working through them step by step and not in a fighting way, in a discussion way. And when we write them down and we've got a list, we're both talking to the list rather than me versus you. We're both sitting around the table, just working through the list together. It's a big difference.
I've found even with that price one where I've had it done to me where, okay, you're saying, look, the price is too high. So rather than just cutting the price, you're sort of almost going back to the three options one, saying, okay, well, look, we can do the price that you want it to be, but we'll take
your windows might fall out.
Well, no, we'll drop. We won't do the windows.
Yes.
So you basically start fitting.
Yep.
Okay, well, we can do the dollars you want, but you may not quite get everything you want. So it gives you a bit of flexibility around it. So
Yes.
again, it's sort of another way of pulling that. If maybe they've only they can only get mortgage of $250,000, so they have to make it work for that.
Yep.
So then you need to work with them to try and give them the outcome that they're looking for, but within the dollars that they've got available to them.
Yeah, and that's a really key point because I talk about the proposal or the quote or whatever it is we're putting in front of them. It should be a discussion point. It's not set in stone. And as you said, okay, well, to meet that, we could do this. Does that work? I mean, you start building that working relationship, already.
And hopefully through the discovery phase, you've got an idea of what's really important to them and what isn't. So, and you understand with what you're presenting is where your flexibility is and maybe the things you can pull out that aren't going to hurt you too much.
Yep.
And if you know what their hot points are, then you can make sure you aim at the things that aren't on their hot points. And
Totally.
then you're trying to massage a deal that gives you a decent outcome, but gives them what they can afford and an outcome that they're happy with for that.
And if we go into something with that win-win attitude, like I need this to be profitable for my business and I need you to get the dream thing that you're looking for, it becomes collaborative. Like we're both working to make that happen rather than a typical sales scenario which feels like a fight, and it can be quite exhausting. Just one final thing on that close is that it's really important to paint the future. And what I mean by that is people are generally afraid of the unknown. So if we say, so when you sign, here's what it looks like. We would come in a week and we would start to measure up in XYZ. And then 2 weeks later, we're going to put down the first slab, etc. And then after 4 weeks, blah, blah, blah. And then by 3 months, we're all done. The project's done. And by mapping it out like that, people go, oh, okay, I can see what's coming. I'm way more likely to go, I'm signing for all this money, tens, hundreds, thousands of dollars, because I can see where it's going. Whereas if we've just said, here's our price for all these materials, and go, shit, $100,000 for some wood and some metal bits that I don't know what they do. That's quite
and I've got this other quote that says 50,000. What do we do?
Totally. And then there's one that paints the whole story and says exactly what's going on. Oh, and here's something. One of the business coaches in my group works with a builder who his conversion rate, so measuring your conversion rate is important, was about 20%. So every quote that he put out, he'd only win, 1 in 5.
Which is actually pretty typical in the industry.
Pretty typical. Yeah. And then his coach suggested, and hey, you can take this information for free. He made a Loom video, which Loom is a screen recording. And so loom.com, it's free for 5 minutes. So you only need 5 minutes. And he was scared, like he didn't want to do it. He's doing it on his phone. I think he had sunglasses on, so because he was reading it, so that his eyes weren't darting around.
Yeah.
And he would walk through the proposal or the quote in a video, chatting away. So, and with Loom, the reason this one's important, you can embed it into the email. So you're sending an email with your quote, and in the email, the video's like talking, like it's as if you're moving. So it's real easy to click and see what's going on. And it's this guy walking through the quote. So, Jimmy, you told me you've got these problems, and we talked about the kind of quality you want. So you want our special glue. I've made sure that's in here. Now we've gone through this. Now Sharon needs the bathroom, so that's why we've set this out like that. Blah blah blah. You will pay a deposit here, and then we will come in next week. And here's the future. Look, would love to work with you. Let's go. Since he's been doing that, and this is over the last 9 months, 100% conversion rate.
Right?
100%. Hundreds of thousands, millions, I think, in additional work.
Yeah, right.
Over, 9 months.
Jeez. Yeah,
and nobody else will be doing it.
Yeah.
So give it a go.
So what we do is not quite the same as that, but I've definitely brought some of that same thinking into what we do. And so part of what we present to or give to our builders is what we call a client report, which is a summary of the detail that they've got, so they can look at all the costs and exactly how many hours are allowed and all that sort of thing. But very much the idea behind it was sort of similar, is it's a sales tool that they can work through with the client. And because it's got pictures of the 3D model in it, it allows the client to see exactly what they're going to be getting. And when we first sort of started developing it, where we're working with builders where they might be, I can remember one is a renovation we did in Remuera, and it was about 1.8 million or something. And our report was 30 pages with these pictures of what was going to be done.
Yep.
The competitor was one page with a number at the bottom of it.
Yes.
And a lot of our customers were pretty uncomfortable with breaking down that amount of detail because they're worried about the customers picking it apart and saying, I can get this for cheaper over here. But my idea behind the whole thing was very much what you're outlining, is that rather than just being one number, it's one number, it's a bigger number than what you're expecting, but this gives you the detail as to why it's that number. Because it's how it's added up.
$1.8 million, put some work in, put some effort into winning that thing. It's not just another, like, when we're busy, when we're in the business, as a business owner, we hate admin. And so sometimes sending a quote or an invoice is admin. That's money in your business. Like, that should be your number one priority and task. And if we've got a $10,000, $100,000, $1 million proposal to do, that's worth spending some time on rather than flicking an email out with a number. And like, by the sounds of things, like that simple little bit of work, a 5-minute video, the guy was terrified.
And obviously once you've done a few of them,
exactly. And
you don't even have to send the first couple, just 100%,
give it a crack. Just practice. Show your wife, show your dog, get used to it that way.
It's so loom.com.
Loom.
It's a good, I think a lot of our customers, that's a really good idea. So,
because it's in the, and it's not a link that they have to go somewhere because people, they don't want to go anywhere. It's inside the email. So, what's Bill talking about? Oh, he's okay. Oh,
actually, it's my job he's talking about.
Yeah. And then you're conversing, so you're already feeling more comfortable because it's a person now, rather than a few lines in an email.
So once you've given a quote, how much effort should people put into following up those quotes? Like, if you've done a good job, if you sent your Loom email or you've sent your YourQS report, is that job done?
I think so. What I would a really good thing to remember is BAM FAM. BAM FAM. Book a meeting from a meeting. So when you send the proposal, you tell them you're going to call them in X amount of days to make sure they understand it. Check if there was anything missed or whatever. The most ideal is that we're presenting in person this thing in the first place.
Yeah.
Secondly,
so you're not doing the Loom thing, or would you do the Loom thing as well?
I think you could do that as well. Like you say, look, I'll send this through to you after we've discussed it.
Or if you're trying to set the meeting up, saying, whether here's a quick overview, or just send the email with that Loom thing in, and
you will stand out for sure.
Absolutely,
100%. And these are in Australia, these guys, so won't be here. So telling them when you're going to follow up. I think you're in control, and you have the conversation, and they go, okay, we need to talk to Barbara, and we're probably a few months away from pulling the trigger. Okay, so I'll tell you what, I'll call you. When would suit, do you think? So 1st of June or the 15th of June? Oh, yeah, if you gave us a call mid-June, that'd be great. Cool. Now you've got permission, again, that permission thing to follow up, because, think of the opposite. You haven't asked permission, and you start following up, go, what's going on? Where's the thing? Oh, fucking stop bugging me. But if it's in, okay, Barbara, it's in my calendar, I'm going to call you at the 15th of June. I'll even send an invite, 15-minute call with Nick.
It's in their diary.
It's in their calendar. Yeah, totally. Again, now we're still in the control space, and I think that's just very different than just that spray and pray. I hope they choose us.
That's great, John. So we've covered a lot of ground today. Is there any burning issues, anything else that you want to raise, or any ideas that you want to get off your chest?
That big one, that if we really want the dream, like if we really want to build a business and not a job, then it takes that stepping up into that leader mode, and it's making a decision. I need to change this, and you might not know how, but it comes to that decision, and that's when, again, people like me, people in my kind of position, mentors, other business owners who have done it, like speaking to them. I think it makes a big difference, but it all starts with that decision. Okay, and it's not it can't happen tomorrow. It might be a 3-year goal, and let's work together over 3 years to kind of make that happen. And it's a well-trodden path. Like, people have done it. So, if it's what you want, you need to make the decision, and then you need to find the path to get there. That's probably I'm
a great one from learning from other people's mistakes. If you can avoid having to make them yourself.
Yeah, I kept making them myself. That's a problem. Yeah.
Well, thanks everybody for listening. If you want to talk to a business coach that really understands businesses and has been through the mill himself and can contribute to your business, then Jon Randles is your guy to talk to. If you want a QS that is interested in what you're doing in your business and helping you be more successful, who also really understands building costs, then talk to Nick at YourQS.